This is beautiful maple that we've been milling up. And what is this, you may ask? This box right here is going to be a portable coffee station, I guess you could call it. Actually, what started this project was the idea of having the very best coffee products in the teardrop trailer. And the teardrop trailer has just been put on hold for a little bit. We're going to resume working on it soon and get that going. Thinking that it would be a really neat idea to have a beautiful case that you can use in the teardrop, but then you could take it out of it when you're not using it. So you don't have like all this beautiful stuff just sitting there when you're not using it. You take it out of there and you put it in your kitchen, and then you can bring it back again. You can take the whole thing in the backyard or out on a picnic or something like that too. I love the idea of that. The very first thing to think about when it comes to a new project, I think, is material, and in this case the wood. I wanted something light in color, straight, durable, strong. Actually, I kind of think of this project as setting the design tone for the entire camper project. Now, about a year and a half ago, we found a guy on Craigslist who was selling some hard maple, and that's what this is right here. This is a really big piece, too big for the jointer, so using the CNC for the job. I'm really curious what these boards were used for before this. I mean, did they come out of some old barn or something? I don't know. So the process we're using here is first securing the wood on one side, bringing the piece down flat, then turning it around, securing and flattening the other side. Before you start running the program, you want to find the high point here to avoid either going in too aggressively or having the bit run in the air too much. So look how beautiful this wood inside. I mean, I know a lot of people like figure and curl and a lot of, movement in the wood, and I like that too, but for this project I really want clean lines, straight wood, a minimal feel. Oh, and that right there is to cut it in half to make the wood a little more manageable to resaw and work with. Kind of still picturing where everything should go. Of course, you don't want to actually make any mistakes on your final wood. It's nice to be able to model things, especially when you're using, like I want to fit these specific things in here. So to help with this project, we're using a software called Shaper 3D. And this is a rather intuitive program. It's a design software. It integrates CAD, and it comes in a variety of apps. You can use it on your tablet and your iPad as well as your Windows computer. There's lots of different options for it. Let me show you guys how we are modeling this. So the basic cabinet is going to measure 20 by 15 inches. Now this is the first project that I'm using this program for, so I'm still learning all the features and how it works. One of the parts we're integrating is a door that closes up the whole case, but that also can come down as a table surface, so you can take out your coffee stuff and, brew coffee. But one of the things I'm trying to figure out here is what kind of hinges to use and how to secure them properly so you get a flat surface when the door is down. It's a little tricky to get it to close nicely and then have it to go down so it's level with the shelf. And here you can also see how I'm bringing in these coffee products and modeling them to scale so you can play around and figure out a design that's best going to fit everything nicely. Like, where should the shelves be? Where should there be dividers? And like the kettle right here, I realized that if I angled it, instead of having it straight, it takes up a lot less room. Also, here's a timber door idea we have with the tongue and grooved pieces. And I must say, all in all, I'm really liking the software, and I'm looking forward to modeling the teardrop trailer in here. I think that could be really useful. So if you're looking for an easy-to-use design software for your woodworking projects, then definitely check this out. And if you use the code Darbin10, you'll get 10% off using the link below. The next step is resawing it on the bandsaw. And here's a good example of how the CNC is really useful for a lot of things, but you can't use it to resaw wood. It's nice to have a large bandsaw when you're dealing with big boards like this. So ideally the process is resaw, go through the planer, resaw, go through the planer, because it is always nice to have one straight, like one flat side to work against. The depth of this cabinet is something that I've been going back and forth on. Initially I was planning on adding an electric kettle, and that one required a little bigger footprint. So the width of these boards that you're seeing being cut here is based on that. But then I decided to add a regular kettle instead. Yeah, isn't it beautiful? Anyway, this one is slightly smaller, and the thing is, I want all the things to be tucked in really nicely, but it's a fine balance between being cramped and being perfectly held in place. And if you add holders, well, they may require a little more wiggle room to put things in to fasten properly. So still debating here about that. So the stock for the sides of the cabinet are milled, and next up are the pieces for the back. When you're milling up rough sawn lumber, you really start to understand why perfect, ready-to-use hardwood in different thicknesses is so expensive at the store, because there's so much work involved. Now, often what we do when it comes to the back of a project, like a cabinet or a piece of furniture, is to use a thin piece of plywood. But for this project, I wanted solid wood throughout. And the next step here is creating the tongue and groove, using these little brass bars to set the height of the blade just right, and then very carefully cutting a groove on the sides so the wood will connect and line up just right. So here are the different products that I want to fit in here. We have kettle, pour over, canister for coffee, mug, grinder. This is kind of nice because it's on the small side, it's not too large, and it doesn't require electricity. Scale, little cup for measuring, propane system. If you do take the thing out traveling or whatever, if you go out on a picnic, it's nice to have this, and it's so efficient, so might as well. This cabinet right here has actually gone through quite a few design alterations. The very fundamental concept remains the same. I mean, a case with shelving inside and a door that you close and that you can open, and that which in turn becomes like a table surface that you can bring out the coffee equipment on. Just really like that idea. Like modular piece of furniture in that sense. Now, what's inside the case, however, and how that's being organized is another question. One feature I really wanted to add was some tambour doors. You know, the kind that moves in tracks and adds a nice visual texture to a piece of furniture while also filling the function of a door. So we figured what pieces of wood we had to work with here to create like a small tambour door on the upper level in the cabinet. And the first step in that process is cutting up these small pieces and then adding a tongue and groove detail on those as well, so they'll connect together. Aren't they gorgeous? I love this look. However, I am starting to rethink this whole upper door idea. You know, I go back and forth on this, but let's talk about one of the fundamental aspects of the construction of this box, the joinery. If you have been around this channel any length of time, then you'll know that box joints or finger joints are really our preferred joint of choice. I mean, they're strong, beautiful, and relatively easy to cut on the table saw if you have a jig. By the way, this jig was originally designed to go on a smaller table saw, so that's another work in progress, making a new plan for a new updated box joint jig. So the moment of truth, once you've cut all the pieces, did you count correctly? A piece of advice when you're using a jig like this: don't have any other distractions around, count out loud and stay focused. And if you do, you'll be rewarded with perfectly cut joints that fit together just right. And here you can see this idea of the tambour door, which would go into a track on the upper section of the cabinet. Another idea would be to use these as fronts for drawers or smaller doors. Something else to consider: how to secure each thing inside so that the things stay protected and in place when you move the cabinet around. You don't want anything to like wiggle around. So I think I want to use a combination of custom pieces cut out on the CNC, like holders, and maybe some like leather accents or snaps or something like that. we'll see. And I will go over more about this project soon. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, if you're interested in checking out the Shaper 3D software, you can use the code Darbin10 using the link below for 10% off. So that's all for now. Obviously there's going to be a second video about this, finalizing the design choices, creating holders, assembling and finishing everything up. I kind of like the slow pace of this. Like the fact that you are hand grinding it, it's kind of relaxing. It's a bit of a procedure where you do each step, and it's not meant to be like a fast cup of coffee, you know? If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let's make some coffee, shall we? This is a pretty light roast. Hey Darwin, watch out. Okay, now we have had the second bloom. Let's pour the water on. These are the fellow products, and I've kind of gotten a little obsessed with them lately because they're so beautiful and everything is designed so nicely for the specific task that it's meant to do. A little bit of luxury, half and half in your coffee. And basically I just like the idea of being able to do this on the road. Ooh, that's good coffee.